but it's on
Yeah, it's
Zoom.
half a semester. You have to, it's required for you to take it.
It's gonna
I'm
be
taking it this
quick.
year. I'm taking it now.
Easy, hopefully.
Yeah,
No,
no,
I think it's a relatively easy
but it's
class.
always better to stare the bastards down.
I agree.
Hello.
So I know that Esmeralda's not coming today.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, Laura.
Hi, Bobby. Good, how are you?
6 o'clock.
He is. I understand you're not in it again. Why?
Where'd Rocky go?
What? It just didn't work out?
If you
Aw,
have a quorum, you can start.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Why don't we, I'd like to call to order the school committee meeting of February 1st.
You're gonna have to knock.
My goodness.
You have before you an agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Comments from the public? Seeing none, we'll move on to Superintendent's Report.
Okay. So COVID is finally starting to subside in the schools. Last week's count was at 58 cases, which was down from 84 in the week before, which was actually even a shorter week. So we're glad to see these numbers going down. As I shared in our last school committee meeting, the state offered districts a new testing option for school students and personnel, where every student and staff member who opts in receives a test kit each week for at-home testing. This would eliminate the need for
That guy.
this would eliminate the need for extensive contact tracing and pauses the test and stay program, which we currently use. After attending the state's webinar on this new at-home testing option and after a lot of discussion together with the school nurses, we've decided that it is really better for us to stay the course with the test and stay program rather than to change to at-home testing. For one, we would be responsible for soliciting and collecting all new opt-in consent forms for families. So even if families opted in to the test and stay program, we would need a new set of consent forms from families, and this can take a long period of time. Also, there is really no guarantee that families are using the at-home tests appropriately or regularly, as they are only required to report a positive test if it is picked up by the home test. And finally, our test and stay program has really been able to find several asymptomatic cases, which helps to keep the virus from spreading by unsuspecting individuals who are not suffering from symptoms. So overall, there really hasn't been any pushback or questioning from the school community as they see the benefits of the test and stay program currently in place. On January 29th, our vaccine clinic unfortunately was canceled due to the nor'easter, but it has been rescheduled to Saturday, February 19th. And earlier today, I prepared an email. Later today, I will be sending it out, information around for staff and families around how to register for an appointment on February 19th. Any questions there?
That's my
Okay.
birthday.
Happy
No,
birthday,
thank
February
early.
19th.
So,
Enrollment?
enrollment, yes. This month, we have a slight increase in enrollment from 1,684 students to 1,690. The new enrollments have been fairly evenly distributed across the 4 schools, with 2 new students at each at NES and NIS, 1 new student each at CPS and NHS. So that's what we're seeing in enrollment. And finally, I just wanted to take a moment to share that we're getting close to the midpoint of the academic year, and it is an appropriate time for us to review and discuss progress on this year's school committee goals. So we will do so at a mid-year retreat, which has been agreed upon by the chair, and that will be on Tuesday, February 15th, in lieu of our regular school committee meeting, and we will hold it at an off-site location. So we will talk a lot about the goals at that time. So more to come.
Okay. John and Abigail Adams Scholarship. Andy?
So our recipient is not here this evening, but I would still like to recognize Miss, actually, this might be her coming in now. Yes, it is. Perfect timing.
Good timing.
Perfect timing.
Right on cue.
So I'd like to introduce Miss Keith Ann Maynard. Keith Ann is a senior this year, and she has been in the drama club for the last 4 years. She's also in the choral group and in accidentals and naturals, and she's a proud member of our diversity club. Was actually working on a bulletin board for that club. Last year, as we all know, so 2 years ago, almost 2 years now, the sophomores did not end up taking the MCAS. So the State Department made the decision that those sophomores were not required to take the MCAS. Last year, as juniors, they had the option to take the MCAS if they would like to, specifically in case they'd like to be eligible for the John and Abigail Adams Scholarship. Keith Ann was one of 5 who chose to do that, and I like to proudly say that we have 20% that were recipients for our scholarship. So I'm very happy to announce Keith Ann as a recipient for the John and Abigail Adams Scholarship, which will pay tuition and fees for any in-state school.
Yeah, Keith Ann. Nice job.
That's great. Well done.
You want to say anything?
Um,
Now's your chance. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. This was a great opportunity, and I'm really happy I took it. And I'm looking forward to college. So far, I've been accepted to RIT, Rochester Institute of Tech, and UMass Amherst, and UMass Lowell. Yes.
And
Well
what
done.
we're planning to major in.
I plan to do medicine. I want to be a cardiothoracic surgeon. Yeah. The heart has really intrigued me, and I'm looking forward to being a surgeon. Yeah. So I have a few years ahead of me, but I'm looking forward to it.
Well
Great.
done.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
that's wonderful.
Congratulations.
Excellent.
Okay, the Chartwell's presentation.
Hello. Good evening. Do I need to bring this lower? Should I? Yes,
Yeah.
you do need to speak into
They want us
that.
to hear you.
I don't know.
Oh.
It's for the TV. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us here tonight. My name is Erin Long. I have met some of you, but a lot of new faces. I haven't been here in a while. We've had sort of a weird couple of years. And I think this lady on my right needs no introduction. I'm sure everyone knows Miss Linda Peterson, my right-hand person here. So thank you again for having us. So I just wanted to provide an overview of the program and our partnership and how long we've been here and so forth. So Nantucket and Chartwell's started the contract partnership back in 2012 and 13, the school year of 2012-13. Linda has worked for us since that's the start of that school year, but she, as you all know, she's been an instrumental person in the school lunch program for well over 30 years, previously working for Nantucket Public Schools. And I just wanted to take a minute to publicly thank Linda and acknowledge her for, you know, there's a lot of things that as a district manager, I can coach and help and support my team with. What I can't do is I can't teach someone heart. I can't teach someone to care about their community like Linda does. And I know she's been a long-term resident, but when she tells me about how much she loves her job and how much she appreciates the students, I know she's really sincere, and I totally value that about her. So thank you, Linda. And I also wanted to thank the staff, the hourly staff that have been here through thick and thin the last year and a half to 2 years with this whole shift in the way we do everything. And without them, I know Linda would be lost too, and I really value everything that they've been able to do during the pandemic especially. So Nantucket Public Schools, you maintain oversight of the program, and we manage the day-to-day operations, and we employ the local food service staff that work here. We purchase the food and supplies to prepare the menu, and then monthly, we provide a bill to the school district for all those expenses that have been incurred. We offer resources and support to Nantucket Public Schools, from regulatory kind of compliance issues and audits, training, marketing, accounting, all the things that come with running the program. And food buy is a sector within Compass Group. Chartwell's is a division within Compass Group, and food buy is our purchasing sector, and that's the biggest entity of food and supply purchasing for restaurants and food service in the world. So as a result of the buying power that Compass has, any rebates that we're able to negotiate with our manufacturer partners, those rebates come back to Nantucket in full. So that saves money on food. And some of the other support areas include compliance, reporting and training. That might be for the meal pattern, identifying offer versus serve, which is when we have to offer the students 5 meal components with their meals, and the students can take 3 to 5 of those meal components. So there's a lot of regulatory compliance that goes behind school meals, and we offer a lot of training resources for that. And we have some software that Linda and her colleagues use on a regular basis to write the menus. And our proprietary software called Webtrition is USDA approved, so that it's complying with all of the regulations in terms of meal pattern, calories, fat, etc. Partnering with the Webtrition program is a public-facing electronic menu format called NutriSlice. And so the Webtrition menu that Linda will write in the software then shows publicly to parents either through, or students through the district website or a phone app. And as I'm sure many people know, if you hover over any of the menu items on the menu on the electronic platform, you get information about allergens, ingredients, nutrition information. So it's a pretty comprehensive program. Again, more compliance, allergen training, meal pattern, DESE. They do frequent audits on school lunch programs. It's highly regulated, like healthcare programs are. So procurement reviews and things like that. We're there to support the district with all of those audits. So just basic information about how the pandemic has impacted food service in Nantucket. And I would say this is pretty universal for most school districts in the country. Pre-pandemic, we had traditional cafeteria service. So the kids would come in, go through the serving lines, get to pick and choose amongst a variety of menu items and side dishes what they wanted on their menu tray. So that's called offer versus serve, where we offer multiple meal components, and we have to make sure the kids are at least getting 3, but up to 5 of those meal components. Several daily options, like I said. We also had a la carte, what we call in the industry a la carte cash sales for bottles of water, snacks, and things like that were on the John Stalker A list, and catering. Linda did some catering in the district as well. We used a point of sale service, cash registers, so parents could deposit money on their students' accounts, and the kids could come through and use the money on the account, or they could have cash at the point of service. So we were using cash at that time. There was an eligibility status to consider, which is built into the POS system. So if a student was free eligible, or paid student, or reduced price, that automatically came up, and it was a very confidential transaction. And the students had direct interaction with the staff. And as everybody knows, when students are polled, usually their favorite period of the day or time of day is lunch and recess and all those fun things. So unfortunately, I think that human interaction, doesn't exist like it did before with the cafeteria staff and the kids, which is, we hope to get back to that sooner rather than later. So that's how things were. And now how things are is prepackaged meals delivered either to the classroom in rolling coolers or served grab and go. And kids are eating either in the cafeteria or the common areas to maintain social distancing. So I'm sure that's not a surprise to anyone here. There's minimal daily options, unfortunately, because of the method of service that has to be engaged to keep kids safe, and have the meals go where the kids are, more so than having the kids congregate in the cafeteria. Because of that, and because the meals have to be sent where the kids are and prepackaged, there's less opportunity for the kids to pick and choose the items that they want, because we have to prepackage the whole entire meal in one container or a bag. So as a result of that, just from an economic standpoint, it also increases the cost of the meal, the food, because there's more items that are being given to the kids. No cash sales, obviously, because the kids are eating remotely, and everyone is free, which is a huge benefit to families and kids and the administration, too, and Linda, because we're not dealing with meal applications and the status of the kids, charging, any of that. So that's been a residual benefit this year, is to be able to offer all the students everywhere in the country free meals. If I had my druthers, I would like that to continue, but I don't know what the federal government is going to be doing for next year, because that has not yet been decided. And the meals, the pattern, and what we have to serve the kids is still same regulations, still highly regulated, and Linda still has to use the software to make sure her meals are compliant. Again, much less direct interaction with the food service staff, and then, like every other business in the world, we're not immune to just the basic supply chain issues and inflation going through the roof, and labor challenges at times. So this is just a snapshot of, what things look like before the pandemic in terms of average daily meals. We saw a slight increase every year leading up to 2019 as far as average daily. And when I use the word reimbursable meals, that means that the meals are a full meal, and we're eligible, the district is eligible, therefore, to claim them with the state of Massachusetts, and get, the district then gets some reimbursement dollars for all of those meals that are compliant with the pattern. So as you can see, in 2020, when we started with the closure of schools back in March, then our average daily meals for the whole entire year dipped slightly because we had no full service from March on. And then obviously 2021, where we were just serving remote meals, and again, those were free, so that was a benefit to families, and they were picking them up. And then now, with everyone being free, you can see how the number kind of jumps off the page as far as the average daily meals that are being served now. So thus my wish that the federal government would fund this for ongoing years, but remains to be seen. And just a few photos of the staff in the kitchen, working hard, socially distancing, making some quesadillas, I believe. And this is just a program that I wanted to explain in terms of what's coming up. There's some coming attractions when things start to get back to normal a little bit. We have a program called Mood Boost for the elementary students, and it basically is designed around the idea that, as you know, certain foods, when I was a student in school, I learned that carrots were good for my eyes and milk was good for my teeth, and those basic things. Well, now there's a lot of studies saying that certain foods will improve your brain function, or your moods, make you calm, and things like that. I think dark chocolate has a good benefit in terms of mood. So we tied the characters to focus on marketing food items on the serving line that the kids might want to take if they want to think about their health and their overall, make good choices with their meals. So it's a whole program with, stickers and decals and trading cards and things like that to promote that with the elementary students. And we have the same program also for middle school students, but it's a little bit more mature themed, if you will. And then for high school students, this started a couple of years ago, and we've met great success with it, where it's not uncommon for cafeteria programs to sometimes offer samples to kids or talk to the kids about what their likes are and dislikes, but this student choice program is a little bit more formalized package, and we set up, a banner and a backdrop and a table in the cafeteria, and we will try 2 or 3 different food items from different concepts and have the kids actually vote on what their favorite items are. And they can use, some school districts allow cell phones, some don't, so we work around that. If the kids can vote on their phone, they can do that. If not, we'll set up tablets or little laptops in the cafeteria, which you see in the top right corner at one of the school districts that we did. And it's in real time, so as the kids are voting in the cafeteria, sometimes we can set up a screen and actually tally the votes that are coming in. We found out the hard way. One kid, all of a sudden, we saw one particular item was going off the chart, and the other 2 items were sort of on the lower scale. We saw a kid in the cafeteria with a little laptop hitting the button, 100 times. They really liked the chicken from Roost. So that's something that we're hopefully looking forward to when things get back to normal and we can offer, a more traditional service and have the kids kind of participate in that and give us their feedback. And that's sort of what I wanted to bring to your attention tonight, but I'm happy to entertain any questions, or maybe if you have anything for Linda.
Laura?
Yeah, I was just curious as to where you source the food from, who the vendors are that you work with.
Our primary distributor for grocery, freezer goods, and things like that is Gordon Food Service, GFS. We use Sid Wayner for local produce. Linda works with a small bread company, FJ, for bread.
Yes, FJ Bread. He also delivers Stop and Shop.
Yep. And then you have Gorelick for milk.
I have Gorelick Farms for milk.
Yeah. So those are the 4 primary vendors that we use.
So, do you work with any of the local farms or anything like that? Does that ever?
Linda has worked with
Is that ever
Sustainable Nantucket.
Oh, great.
And has gotten a lot of produce in bulk several times. Not so much in the last year and a half, but prior to the pandemic. I think you did like a couple of 100 pounds of tomatoes and cucumbers.
Yeah, actually, Sustainable in Nantucket, we would get together and they have a glean team. Well, just make an example. Bartlett Farm will, ready to groom their tomatoes. One year we got 500 pounds of tomatoes. So they brought it to us. Then I have another set of volunteers that would come in and help me prep them. So we peeled them and prepped them and roasted them. Then I just put them in huge 5-gallon certified food safety and containers and froze them, dated, and that particular whole year, we only had at the time NES, not NIS, so this is how far I'm going back, 4 years. In the high school, I did not buy spaghetti sauce or pizza sauce up until May and June.
Wow,
So everybody used it.
that's wonderful.
What else? Corn on the cob. I think we got like 700 corn on the cob. I would serve corn on the cob. And whatever was left over, I husked it off. I made corn chowder out of it. I made a nice veggie stock. I like to cook from scratch. We have done, Chef Craig came and we did a couple of demos with some roasted radishes at the high school, like she was talking about, with the bulletin board and everything, and we just would survey, and I've done that 1, 2, 3 times. Sustainable and I have not got together lately because of the pandemic, but they want me to form a wish list so that we can purchase from them, and then there'll be some grant writing. So, for an example, if Sid tomatoes was $1 a pound, I'm making an example, and Bartlett Bartlett's Farm was $3 a pound. So the grant would come in to make up the differ. So we can introduce. And then, when I do get a farm product, I will put up a beautiful sign, who's your farmer? On the line, and I will say this product is da-da-da-da-da. At the elementary level, I have taken a product and showed them the raw state, the beet, for an example. What it looks like right out of the ground with the dirt, grain, and everything. So they know that came from the earth, and this is good. Try it. Give me your opinion tomorrow. So that's what I've done with the farm.
I love that, Linda. That's wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Polly?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you
Welcome.
for doing what is a very difficult job, which is feeding our children who are, I'm sure, picky eaters at the best. We know, and Linda and I have worked together for many, many years, and we know that a lot of children are coming into school without breakfast. We also know just from, anecdotally from conversations with students, they're not having necessarily nutritional dinners. So lunch is really the important time of day for many of our kiddos to get nourishing hot meals in the winter and nourishing meals in the summer. So I'm just curious, and I'm asking these questions because I want to know how we can support you. So that's where that's coming from. Because I think as a school committee, we can maybe give a little oomph to some of the powers that be. I know you've sourced locally, and I think that's great, but I would love to see if we could do that on a more frequent basis. There's a lot of conversations going on right now around food insecurity, and you may be aware that Nantucket received $1.8 million from the state that will come, is currently in control at the Community Foundation in Nantucket. So I would love to continue a conversation to see how we can help, because I look at the menus and I'm not sure who designs the menus for our school district, but one of the questions I'm looking at is what is actually being made on the premises? What is not being taken out of a freezer? What is not being taken out of a plastic package and heated up? What is actually fresh? And I know the example we were given was salad, I forget what that was, the Asian salad, which is great. And I think if we've got an opportunity for fresh vegetables, we should be using them if we can, rather than something that's coming from Sidwana or the same purveyor that's at the Stop and Shop. Because what I have witnessed is, I think our fruit is not necessarily the highest quality for our kids. The apples are very small. I feel like, are we able to get the best quality product for our kids? And if that's something, you did mention that you had food chain issues, and so if that's something that we can help you with, I would really like to do that so that we can really be sure that our kiddos are getting fresh made. And I know back in the day, Linda, pre-COVID, that's, you had a team of staff that were making meals. I mean, we would have parents coming in and having lunch with their kids, and then even in the summer, you served delicious El Salvadorian food that was a good money maker for the school during the summer. So I'd love to see us come back to that. And I'm just curious on the free and reduced. You said, now I know that everyone is having lunch and paid for, but how do we then collect our numbers? If you're not doing the applications for free and reduced, how are you collecting that percentage? Because that is something that's really critical for us as a school district to know how many children qualify for that. So what's happened since COVID? I've been able to
I
move.
highly recommend that each household is given the application for free, reduced, and paid, and for them to still continue to do that. And the reason being, they get a letter of their status, and they can take that letter to National Grid and lower their electric bill. That's one benefit. Number two, they can take it to Mass Health, WIC, all those places, and that automatically will help the house. there's a fourth one. National, the cable internet will help lower their bill. From, last time I knew, it was like $60 just for the internet. It will go down to $20. So that's that much savings for the household. They also will offer a lab computer. Last time I knew, it was $300 for a lab computer,
Wow.
compared to, over 1,000. So those are the kind of things that I came up with last year.
It's amazing.
Years ago, and it's on the website. So those are important. They take that letter, look at the links, apply, help your household. That's one thing. As far as free, we have Aspen, the teachers, so nicely, they take their attendance in the day per class. Then they go to Aspen and they punch in the lunch order. Who wants lunch? Me, 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 me. They punch the name in. Takes like maybe a minute. Then it's collected. At 8:30, I get a reading. Okay, NES will have 100, we'll say, et cetera, et cetera. And then I do a 9:30 reading, and that's what we base it on. So for a high school, it could be 500. CPS to the high school, 500. But we're already starting the process. We already know we have to make 300 to 400, pieces. And at the end of the day, we add it all up, and that's where you're getting the 900 and something. Yeah.
You have done an amazing job in increasing our percentage in free and reduced by, I think it was always there, but we never reached the kids, and you've done an amazing job.
A long time ago, Miss Polly, was, they were too scared to come forward. They didn't want to give the full Social Security number. Then there was a year that you only had to give the last four. Now, and I'm very private with that. I'm kind of like Dr. Lepre, not discussing other cases. And I want my staff to make sure they will not discuss that. And that's important to me. Just-
Thank you. I was pleased to hear about the survey or the laptop program for the kids to be able to put in choices of what they like, and hopefully we can get there. Just one last question is, do we monitor the waste? Like pre-COVID, during COVID, has it increased? What's our percentage of waste on our?
I think I asked that question to Linda because I was curious, as I am with the other districts, and I'm not sure if there's been any kind of formal analysis or checking of waste bins or anything like that here in Nantucket. I think that's primarily because, unfortunately, the staff is just short-handed almost every day. I know at the high school just today, normally there would have been 6, bodies in the kitchen, and we're down to some days 3 or 4. And, to answer your previous question too about cooking from scratch, Nantucket, I think, could be really proud of the scratch cooking that was being done regularly with Linda and her team, especially pre-pandemic. They made some really good entrees, rice dishes. I mean, I would come and I would just go to the entree because the ladies were in the kitchen and adding spice to the saute pan, and they did a really good job. I think unfortunately, because of the way the meals currently have to be served, the majority of the time spent, unfortunately, is packing. Packing, that's the time-consuming part of the process, and when you have less staff to do that, you have to rely on the prepackaged quick things because you don't have enough bodies, and unfortunately, that's such a time-consuming thing to put things all in individual bags rather than just on a steam table where the students can come in and you're not taking all that time in the morning to pre-pack things. So hopefully, as the labor market, settles in the next year or so and we go back to more traditional service, we'd love to get back to that model because it worked really well. You asked earlier about, you mentioned a grant, and what is it that the school committee could do to support the program? I think in terms of local, correct me if I'm wrong, Linda, because you and I have had many conversations about this. The biggest challenge I think Linda has is distribution. Getting the product from the farms to the kitchen. Sounds easy, right? Because the geography, the distance is not the problem. It's the physical aspect of loading a vehicle and getting it from point A to point B. And I think those are the conversations we had with Sustainable early on when we started discussing this a few years ago. You know, Linda and her team work really hard. I don't know that they have the wherewithal every day or twice a week to get in vehicles and go. And we don't have refrigerated vehicles, you know, to put the produce in to keep it safe and fresh while it's making its way from point A to point B. So distribution, I think, is probably the biggest challenge. It's not availability, it's not knowing what to do with it once you get,
Right.
it's getting it to the door.
That's very helpful. It is.
But I'm gonna add to that. But I think a couple of meetings with Sustainable and maybe getting some volunteer lists together might be able to make this happen. I haven't talked to them in maybe a month before December, but I think that would be kind of an idea. Maybe we have a volunteer individual.
To do the driving, you mean, or the
I
picking
would
up,
go
or?
and maybe pick it out or call in and say da-da-da-da-da-da, and then I call Pauline, it's ready. You go to the farm, you pick it up, you bring it to me. I think that might work.
Yeah.
We need some,
I
we need
would really
some of this.
like to work with you on that, because I think we don't know how long we are gonna be in the situation that
Right.
we're in. And, again, this is not a judgment on what we're doing, but our kids really need nutrition and nutritional foods that they will eat and enjoy, and because for some, it's the only meal they're getting in a day. So I would love to help with you, and also link you with other local resources that you may not be familiar with at the moment, to make this work.
Yeah, we would appreciate it completely.
Thank you. All right, I'm done. Sorry.
Rocky?
Oh, you're one to talk.
Yes, I only have 4 questions. When this was presented to me, I didn't have the Chartwell presentation, but I talked to my son and 10 of his friends, and these are their questions. Number 1, when will we be able to choose what they eat?
When we can, when the, you know, I'm not sure, like in different districts, the decision about how the food is served is sometimes a collaborative one between the Board of Health and the school district and the principals and so forth. So when we get the word that we're gonna transition back to the traditional cafeteria service, then we'll be happy to,
And will that be in this year or not?
it could be, I mean, I work with 12 school districts in Massachusetts.
I'm just working with 12 kids.
Yeah, but.
So this is what they're asking me.
We're not making the decision
Okay.
on that, so.
Thank you.
When we get that go, thumbs up, then we can make that
Okay.
transition.
The second question was, was it gonna go back to normal?
I think that's along the same,
The same
Line of
question, Catherine?
question.
Do you think it's one and the same?
Yeah, I've been wondering that too. Like, I know you kind of said it already in your presentation that we're not sure when the federal government will.
yeah,
choose,
that
but-
doesn't have anything to do with the federal government.
Oh.
Our ability to serve in the cafeteria and offer multiple options and different sides is a local decision.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Number 4 is, they all have to sign in the morning to order their lunches? When you come in the morning, do you have to say, I'm having that lunch?
Yeah, like usually the teachers will ask like who wants lunch and then.
Okay, some kids feel intimidated by doing that, so they'll, instead of signing in to eat, they'll just say, they won't eat.
Well, that's unfortunate because signing in is data that I need to
I
submit,
understand that, I'm just,
you know,
don't
I
kill the messenger.
understand.
I'm just
So
telling what these
I'm
guys
sorry,
told me.
I'm trying to understand, they don't want it,
In the mornings, we get to say, who's buying lunch, right?
we're getting lunch, it's.
Who's
free.
getting lunch?
Yeah.
Sometimes, like, I don't want, the people don't, they feel intimidated by it, or embarrassed by it.
I just wanted to add, one of my teachers actually what she did was instead of asking every day, she just made like a form at the beginning of the year asking like, do you want to order lunch every day? Do you not want to order lunch? So then we don't have to say like, oh, I want lunch every single day.
I mean, that's fine. What we have to do from a regulatory perspective is when the meals are served to the students in the classroom, we're supposed to know that the kids took. If we send 20 lunches down to a classroom of 15, we're supposed to know, okay, 15 students actually took a lunch. Beyond that, how the count happens in the classroom or how we get the information is up to the school or the teacher or,
I get it, I'm just like, these kids, these 12 boys, like, you know, they wouldn't raise their hand
right.
because they're embarrassed.
Maybe there's another method, like the young student mentioned about the teacher just saying, I need 50, I'm not sure how to,
I'm not either. I mean, I'm just,
Yeah.
when this came up as a school committee thing, I went to my son because I just
yep,
went, go to the source, right? And I'm not sure this is for you, but he also said, why can't juniors in good standing academically and attendance not be able to leave to go get lunch?
that's,
That's
That's me, yes.
okay. I told him I'd ask. Got that, Tony Fox? I'm like, get that, Tony? Thank you very much. And you know what, Linda? You know how I feel about you. You do a great job.
get the love. You get the
Thank
love,
you.
Linda. May I ask you a question, Mr. Fox? I heard you're affiliated with the Chicken Box?
Oh, wait, we don't serve chicken.
No. But my son's roommate through college at Bridgewater State worked at the Chicken Box, and he said his uncle, his name was Cam Stanley.
Cameron Stanley right now is in the military. He's
Yes.
going to be a Navy pilot.
Yes, so he was my son's roommate all
That's
through.
my nephew.
Oh, okay. So they went to Bridgewater State and they roomed together for 3 years.
Actually, he's right down in Florida. He's just passed his test, and he's going to be flying jets at the Bridgewater
Yes,
State.
yes. He was a great
Wow.
kid.
And he loves my Jag.
Good roommates. I digress, sorry.
Good sidebar.
Catherine?
Yes.
I don't have any questions.
Okay, superintendent has an answer.
I do. So the decision to have bagged lunches, grab and go, was because we have students eating in very many non-traditional places. And it's a little different at the elementary, intermediate schools than it is at the middle school and high school. So, so we can certainly look at the possibility of going back to a la carte, but it's going to be hard for schools that still have students eating in the classrooms or in the clusters, because they will have to move food to that location. Now, if there's a way that we can do that, where students can choose, and then they can bring a bag, to, like kind of a takeout, takeaway bag to the cluster, that's fine. It's just more time consuming. So those are all things that we need to consider. My hope is that we'll have a better plan for next year, but at the moment, this is what the recommendation has been, especially because we don't have a cafeteria space to house and have all of our students eating at the same time. So that's the reason for that. I also have a question, if I may. There was some discussion about food waste. I don't want to speak for the principals, but in asking them to gather some information and share some opinion from staff and students, one thing that they have shared in their many days of lunch duties is that there is a lot of food waste. And the reason for this, and I'm sure you've probably heard this, Erin, with other districts as well, I think there's a great advantage for all students to have access to lunch. But there are also, with the prepackaged, it is easy for students to take what they want from the lunch and then remove 90% of the other part that they don't want. And that's so disappointing to see food being wasted.
Yes.
So if there are any suggestions that you have heard or that you have around food waste, if there are some things that we can offer a la carte, and we're able to, there's able to be some choice, that would be great, or, a location that students can leave food they don't want or something, because we're struggling with watching day after day, hundreds and hundreds of lunches being thrown away, which is really, really
Yeah.
difficult.
That goes back to the whole reason offer versus serve was implemented with school lunch programs 50, 60 years ago was because of the waste issue. The idea would be you give the students a choice of a bread, a protein, fruit, vegetable, milk, 5 components. They have to take at least 3, and one of them has to be a fruit or vegetable because of the My Plate, fruit and vegetables encouraging. So the students are given 5 items as a choice. 3 have to be taken to be a meal, but they can take up to 5. They could take the whole 5. With the delivery to the classrooms and pre-bagged, there's no way to allow the kids to have that choice, because you'd essentially be sending mini serving lines to each classroom and having the kids take an entree. Oh, do I want an apple or orange today? Oh, do I want it?
Too
The
much time.
teachers wouldn't be able to,
Too much time.
so because we have to package everything to send it, it has to be all-inclusive of a whole entire meal. And we know that there's gonna be food waste, because for the same reason when the kids go through a traditional service line, they don't always take all 5 meal components. We know that, but to be compliant, we have to send all that food, and it's really unfortunate.
And one other question, if I may. The ability for students to potentially have seconds. We have very hungry teenagers at our middle and high school and elementary and intermediate as well, but often knowing that this is the only meal that they're going to get, that is a solid, in many cases, hot meal. Is there any opportunity for offering additional food for them?
We would have to set up a system, which some of my districts have, using Google Docs, where we could have the teacher take a head count of, first entree, and it's usually mostly at high school level. I don't see it that often, maybe occasionally at middle school, a second whole meal. And then have to have a second show of hands for anyone that wants a second meal. Now, going back to the stigma and the embarrassment piece of it, I'm not sure. I mean, if counts could be taken discreetly in the classroom, on a clipboard, on a piece of paper, like a check sheet, as the kids come in, they check it, the teacher just reminds them, hey, did you check your name? Maybe then it doesn't have to be a public thing that the kids are raising their hand. But I'm not gonna speak for the teachers. I don't know how much of a challenge that would be in the classroom to do something like that. They would probably have better solutions.
Possible, yes, thank you. Thanks.
Pauline, you had another question?
Yeah, just one comment is maybe, because the other alternative, if you're not having lunch, is the assumption is you've brought lunch. So I wonder if we're asking the wrong question. And maybe the form is, did you bring lunch today? And if not, we're going to serve lunch to the student. So there isn't that embarrassment or decision. It's
Flipping the
because
question.
We're flipping the question. Flipping the question. And the other piece is, I'm making the assumption, and I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think so, is because we're packaging the lunches right now, are they all cold lunches?
No,
They're not.
no.
So how are we keeping them hot from,
She either has it's called an Oliver machine that we were using, cryovac, it gets heated in the container like a,
like an airplane food or something?
Right.
Okay,
exactly. Or now a foil container with a cover on it, right?
okay.
Yeah, Oliver, you put the hot food in the tray.
And you
come
seal
down
it.
And it seals it with plastic, goes right in the warming oven until service.
Okay.
Or we have
Good.
the aluminum foil with the 3 components.
Yeah.
So everything is separate, because some kids don't like anything touching.
Yeah, it's like a 3-compartment tray.
So are they
And they go
pre-made
into it.
meals? They're pre-made that we're buying and then?
No, they're assembling them in the kitchen. They're putting the meals together in the containers in the kitchen.
And then heating them up, whatever
Yeah, so for an example, we have cheeseburger day.
Yep.
We cook the cheeseburgers, 500 of them. We got the rolls over here, then we put the cheese and everything together. Then we put it in an aluminum pan, like you would go to a restaurant with your french fries. Pinch, pinch, pinch in the woman oven. Just like a restaurant.
Yep.
Pasta, broccoli, dinner roll. What I see in the trash is the pasta's eaten, the broccoli and dinner roll right in the trash in aluminum. The kids don't eat vegetables. There's more food waste than that.
But we're making the pasta, we're cooking the pasta in the school?
Yeah,
Yes.
but nothing's
Yeah.
touching. So you got pasta, you got broccoli, you got you got
But yeah,
the
they
roll.
make the
Nothing's
pasta
touching.
in the kitchen.
The children are actually throwing away most of their lunch.
Yeah.
They want an extra meal, meaning 2 slices of pizza and the other bag is gonna go
Yeah.
right in the trash. That's unfortunate.
Laura, you had another question?
Yes, I am curious, is this sort of dining and serving model something that you see in other districts? Is Nantucket unique?
Unique?
Yes,
At this stage, yes.
really?
I have most of my districts, maybe except 1 or 2, which they may be doing breakfast still, going to the classroom, because there's not long enough period for breakfast. It's 20 minutes, you walk in the door, you go to the cafeteria. So they're sending breakfast to the classrooms in some, but most of my districts have gone back to traditional cafeteria service. There's things to consider in terms of socially distancing, and, you know, so a lot of them still have desks in the cafeteria, and they've had more lunch periods. So instead of 4 traditional lunch periods, they might have 6. So the lunch period itself lasts 2.5 to 3 hours. It's longer, but there's less kids coming through in each lunch time, and then they get their meals in the cafeteria serving area, and they go sit at a desk in the cafeteria. I've seen that in several schools.
Martin, you had a question?
I have a question as a parent. I have 2 kids, as you know, in the system, and 4 could be just my kids, so I'm going to have a disclaimer. They are very peculiar about the type of cheese that goes on the burger. Love burgers, but if the cheese is any other color except mozzarella or American cheese, if it's any kind of orange color, that kills the whole deal. They're not going to touch it. They're not going to try to scrape it. They're just not going to eat. Is there a way to choose whether you want any kind of cheese on the burger or not? My daughter, for instance, would prefer a cheeseburger with no cheese. So I'm just asking. I don't know whether
That'd be a hamburger,
Hold on,
right?
hold on.
Oh, she just wants a hamburger. Yeah, could that be?
I don't know whether there is differentiation in or is it a cheeseburger and everything is with cheese? I just don't know.
Okay, so as far as the cheese, we get from USDA what is available. So it might be white or it might be yellow at the time of that month,
Okay.
the way the shipment's coming in. So I can't determine yellow cheese, white cheese.
No, that's
As
fine.
far as a hamburger, for any special diets, I would try to give so-and-so a hamburger and so-and-so a cheeseburger.
You'd have to label the bag that goes to
You
the
have to label
classroom.
the bag, but if you have allergen people, they can't have this, their bag has to be marked, and we have a lot of those.
Okay. I was
Yep.
just wondering, that was, it's minor thing, but it's.
It's important now.
It's important because burgers and pizza are always popular,
Mhm,
obviously.
mhm.
And whenever there is burger, we ask her, and she says, I'm gonna eat it, but if there is cheese, then, yeah.
I remember
Doesn't
back
matter.
when we used to travel to a basketball game, Coach Willis Ferreira hated cheese on his burger. All he wanted was a burger only. Now, we went to McDonald's. All the rest of them wanted quarter pounds with cheese, Big Macs. So guess what took the longest to get our food was that stinking hamburger. So we all be done with our food, and poor Willis is still waiting for his little hamburger.
Life was tough back
I'm
then.
not sure how, I'm not sure that's relevant, but put it out there.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you
you so
all.
much. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you, Linda.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Linda.
My pleasure.
On to the bullying update. So, NES,
So I'm not sure what our protocol is for this. We've done it several different ways that include shouting out from the audience. And this time we typed them up. And so I believe you already have this in your packet. The summative statement is we have no bullying at NES. In this time period, the counselors are teaching the bullying unit, which does cause our kids to say lots of things are bullying, and I did put a note about that, which is kind of amusing and relevant in they think it's bullying that they can only get chocolate milk instead of white milk. And that's a supply chain issue, but then we know.
That is, I can correct that. Because
Cheeseburger or
when they go
hamburger?
to the classroom, they have a choice. It's on the menu as a choice.
No, Linda, that I gave this as comic relief.
Okay,
But
good.
it's really,
I will address that issue.
yeah, and it's really that we have to teach what bullying is. And so that's what happens. And cases or inquiries about bullying. As we follow the process that is on our website, bullying often starts with an incident. They do an investigation, our counselors, and teachers and parents and students, and then they make a determination if it's bullying or not. So I shared the 4 incidents that were investigated this year, and all of them were determined to not be bullying.
Okay. NIS?
Hi, Ephraim McNeil, Principal of NIS. Kim did a great job describing the process. Our kids have a little, because they're older and have had the bullying unit year after year, they're a little bit savvier about what is bullying and what is not. So the reports are probably a little more accurate in their estimation. However, they still are confused with what's, truly meets that definition. But in any case, whenever a parent, a staff member, or a child is worried that bullying is happening, we open an investigation. You can see on the report last school year, we were largely out of school, but in May, we had an incident to be investigated, which was unsubstantiated. And then in June, we had an incident to investigate, and there was a finding of bullying. And whenever that is the case, we create a support plan for the aggressor, because our children are still learning, and we create a safety plan for the victim of bullying. And those involve lots of steps, very specific to the children and what they need to make better, safer choices. So then, as this year has unfolded, as of the 28th of January, we've had 2 investigations, and one in September, which was unsubstantiated, and one more recently, last month, which was also unsubstantiated. But despite that, we still work really hard with the students, with counselors, with families, to help kids process what happened and what are our next steps. Any questions for me?
Thank you.
I have a question. What's considered unsubstantiated, or who determines that?
Usually me.
Are you a committee of one when you do that?
I'm the one who's interviewing all of the children, most cases, or the assistant principal. We get involved when it rises to that level of concern or possible concern. So we're talking to students, children. We're trying to really distill like what actually happened. And then of course we're deciding, is this behavior repeated? Is there an imbalance of power when there's genuine fear on the part of one of the students versus another, or they genuinely are in a position that they don't have as much power, they feel more helpless in a situation. So we look at the criteria for bullying, and we make that determination, because we're well-trained in what is bullying and what is not.
So that's brought to the teacher first and then to the social worker?
Not always. Sometimes I'll get an email directly from a parent who's concerned about bullying. Sometimes a student will report it to a counselor or to a teacher. Sometimes kids will come up and say, I think my friend is being bullied. The reports can come from anywhere.
All right, thank you.
Mike?
Do you want me to come up to the podium, or
Not really.
Unless you want to.
what does MCTV prefer?
TV
Oh.
can only
No.
hear from the microphone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Good evening, Michael Horton, Cyrus Pierce Middle School Principal. Last year, we had one official report, complaint of bullying, and we investigated and determined that it was in fact an example of bullying. This year so far, we've also had one that we investigated and also determined it in fact was a case of bullying. It's something we take very seriously at Cyrus Pierce Middle School. There's a full form process document that you can see on the website, as Mrs. Kubish and Mrs. McNeil referred to. So it is definitely a team, with the counselors, where we work for both with the aggressor as well as the target. Yeah, there are plenty of conflicts between students on a regular basis. But for something to be bullying, it has to be repeated. And that's a powerful word in this process. At the middle school, 95% of the time, the solution is to put as much distance as possible between the target and the aggressor. We have a little bit more flexibility with multiple sections, multiple different courses and paths to change student schedules. And that's what we've done. You can read in the report that as we were working through this situation last year, the aggressor actually withdrew and moved off island towards the end of the investigation. That is interesting because with the counseling piece, working with both the target and the aggressor, we want to help students. Targets and aggressors have a right for free and appropriate public education, so we have to help not only the student who's receiving the bullying, but many times the student giving the bullying. There's probably more concerns there that we want to dig into, and that's where our counselors and social workers come into play. So there may have been some other things going on in that particular student's life that led to some unkind repeated behavior to the same student repeatedly.
Okay, any questions?
Thank you, Mike.
No questions?
Mandy?
The high school has not had any reported incidents of bullying this year. That's not to say that we have not talked to students on harassing behaviors, but as far as full bullying, there have been no formal reports this year.
Thank you.
So NES, NAS, CPS, nothing from NHS?
No?
You're lucky.
Safety and security update, Diane?
Can we do it from here?
It'd actually be better up there.
I'll be brief. We had a safety and security meeting on January 19th. It was very well attended. We had a pretty good agenda. We have some audio work that we've been working on. Jen Erickson has been working very hard with a local vendor, Brian Potter, and he's been going through the middle school and high school to date. I think we're gonna switch soon over to the elementary school and continue on with that work. We have some camera issues. We have some cameras that have been out for quite some time. Some of them due to the lightning surge, and we haven't been able to get a vendor here to fix them. A little shout out to Deputy Chief Charlie Gibson. He came here one day. He worked with Jen Erickson, Joanne Johnson, myself, and Demo, and he worked us through how to get some of these things back online, and we've been successful. And not just cameras, but keypads and things like that. And since then, Joanne and Demo have worked together, and they just installed 2 brand new cameras in the auditorium, which were needed. So that was really, really helpful. We had a little reminder session, Officer Cassie Thompson, not to prop doors open, indoor or outdoor, stop someone in the hallway if you see somebody without a badge and that sort of thing. And I asked about additional cameras on the playground over on Bacchus, and that will come when we build the baseball and tennis courts. Baseball field and tennis courts, there's a plan in place for where the cameras will go and those things. We talked about lockdown drills, intruder drills, and Officer Thompson is working with all staff. She's gone through the training, but the actual drills won't happen unless the principals ask for them. And then the last thing on the list we talked about was the reunification process. If there is a lockdown, how to reunify parents with students. So there's a whole process, and Cassie is sort of spearheading that initiative. And then Sherry Lewis is working on crisis teams across the district. Is it one for each building and then a district-wide one, or?
So we'll start with a district-wide crisis team, and then eventually, when we have that well-established, we'll try to build crisis teams at each school. That's the plan.
Okay.
And these are people who would work with any sort of crisis that might happen, which could range from a lockdown, an issue, even a physical issue to a building,
Right.
but also a death of a staff member or something. So all of those things can be addressed by crisis teams.
That's all I have. It was a great meeting. It's always great to get together with people, fire department, police department, state police come, all the principals. It's a great It's a great way to get everyone's ideas out.
Any questions?
Just one note. Thank you for fixing the clocks at NES. 'Cause it's been 9 o'clock since my son was in 4th grade.
We have new clocks at NES, we do. We have all
Okay.
new software, we have new clocks.
When
They're
you're trying to
just-
teach a
it's
kid
pretty
what
exciting,
time
I
it is, looks
know.
at his watch, goes, "That's not the right time." He looks at his clock, I'm like, "Oh, thank you for that." That's all I got.
Thank
Thank you
you,
very much.
Puni, for that. He
Right,
worked
thank you,
really
sir.
hard on that.
Any other questions?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Diane.
Diane.
Committee discussion and votes to be taken. Vote to approve the donation reimbursement from Hayward Photography to NES in the amount of $2,345.09. Can I have a motion to approve? Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Vote to approve the donation from Stop and Shop Community Bag Program to NES in the amount of $117.
So moved?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
A vote to approve donation from Box Tops for Education to NES in the amount of $34.40.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
January 18th meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
January 19th, the public hearing minutes.
So moved?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Transfers and invoices.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, subcommittee work groups. We heard from Safety and Security. Negotiations continue on. Any other folks have a report?
I have a Cape Cod Collaborative meeting next week,
Okay.
so I'll report on that at our next meeting.
Diversity?
As far as diversity goes, I was, last time we met with Kamal, we're talking, she was a diversity of Wellesley. I just sent you the email today. This is like hot off the press. She just called me today.
Okay.
And this is what Kamal told us to follow up on. So we're gonna have, hopefully, with Esmeralda and Dr. Howell and we will go through and have a Zoom meeting with her because her diversity website is diverse. And if you'd like to join, because I heard earlier you're involved in the diversity club here at the school, correct?
Yes, I'm the president at the diversity club here,
Mm-hmm.
and we just made our bulletin for Black
Okay,
History Month.
then why don't you guys circle back and we'll talk about it, because, maybe you can, maybe join the meeting, because, Kamal gave that to us, and she just, before I came in this meeting, she just blew up my phone, I'm like, oh, yes, and we'll go from there. So we have a lot of information, and it's very new to us, but I think that we're in the right path, and we have our scholarship winning here, so let's get it going.
Thank you.
Beth, would you have something?
If I may, the policy subcommittee will need to meet again to begin on the K policies.
Great.
So that will be coming up in March. We will meet then. So just want to give you a heads up.
Thank you.
Catherine?
So as of right now, the student council is currently planning on accepting donations of hats, mittens, and boots, I believe, to donate to elementary school students who are in need of this because Mrs. Bartlett just told about this plan to me today, so I'm not that clear on how we're gonna do it exactly, but it's currently like going into motion on this, so I hope that's gonna go well.
One thing on that, Catherine, I think when Mrs. Bartlett called me, it has to be new stuff with the tag on it.
Oh,
Okay, it can't be reused,
thank you.
okay?
Thank you, I did not know about that. So,
I got you, girl.
thank you. And MCAS biology retakes is happening on Wednesday and Thursday for students. And the National Honor Society is currently offering tutoring from Monday to Thursday to all high school students who are interested in need of tutoring. So that would be great.
Nice.
And I also wanted to mention Pauline Proch's Our House, like the new volunteering opportunities that are being offered to high school students that can potentially help with your new nonprofit organization, so that'd be great.
Thank you.
Yeah, and the second semester has begun as of yesterday, and I just wanted to mention the Willy Wonka musical that happened at the CPS. My friend's little brother was in it, and it looked amazing. So yeah, I hope that the students had a lot of fun with that. So that's all I have to report.
I have one question. When you said the Honor Society is willing to help out the kids in high school, what about, would they be willing to also tutor kids in CPS?
Yeah, actually, we've
NIS
had
as well?
we've had discussions on opening up to CPS as well. We had a discussion on our meeting on Monday about that. We haven't like fully committed to it, but as of right now, we want to start with the high school, and we're open to going bigger, with, like CPS.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's a great idea.
Anything?
I have a couple of just comments, if I may.
Sure.
I would love to just get an update on the CPS building, of what happened, because we know we've got an email that pipe was burst over the weekend. But I would love to know what the plan is going forward, starting tomorrow, because I understand that we had more pipes break today. So would
So-
you mind just?
Yes,
updating?
so, and I might enlist Mr. Horton, who's been living it every moment. So, we had issues with the heat yesterday, and there have been pipes that have burst not only yesterday, but also today. So we are now dealing with what to do and to make sure that students and staff are safe. We have not come to a decision just yet, but bless you.
Bless you.
But we hope to be able to talk after this meeting and make a decision as to what we're going to do. I don't know, Mike, if you want to share anything more specific around that, so that it will help clear things up with the public.
Sure. I don't know why I'm carrying my computer. So the power was out over the weekend for about 30 hours. And the high school boiler is on the generator, which was able to keep the emergency shelter going. But the CPS boiler was off because it's on a separate circuit, which is something that Diane and everyone's looking at to address in the future. When the power came back on Sunday, whatever heating unit components that were frozen started to thaw out when the CPS boiler fired back up. So as you all know, frozen pipes and frozen parts are not a problem until they actually burst and leak.
Yeah.
So two rooms were flooded sometime Sunday night to Monday that were discovered Monday morning. The boiler shuts itself off when the water pressure gets to a certain point just for safety, so it doesn't push water everywhere. So Demo and Diane acted really quickly to get a special technician to come today to fix those two rooms. The CPS boiler is fine. It was fired back up yesterday morning. It started pumping air to all the rooms. So we were really down two rooms. As you know, a building of this size, it takes time for it to warm up. So I acknowledge the parents and staff. It was cold in a good chunk of the building yesterday. Today, unfortunately, we had 5 more units burst all within the same 20 minutes around 8 o'clock in the morning. And we had to actually close the hallways because the water was spilling into the hallways because Demo couldn't keep up. We have 4 other places that are locked down at the moment because they were cold but they hadn't bursted yet. The technician is here right now. He's staying the night. He's working as much as he can tonight. So that's exactly why Dr. Hallett and I need to touch base and see where we are with the fixes for tomorrow morning before we make any type of decision of whether the building is ready to be open tomorrow morning.
Can I just clarify something?
Yep.
And I don't know if Mr. Horton actually knew this, but when the power goes out and we're on generator, we open valves so that we push the heat from this building to the middle school. That's just how it's always worked. So I think because of the extreme circumstances and the high winds and the low temperatures, the heat that was getting pushed from the high school just couldn't keep up in the middle school. And that was the reason that they froze. It wasn't because they didn't have any heat. I think what really made it a lot worse was Sunday night. Gimo and I walked the building before we closed the shelter on Sunday, and everything was on, everything was warm, it was great, the boiler was running. But when those 2 rooms burst and then the water pressure dropped, the boiler kicked off, and that's why the rest of them are suffering now. We do have a tech here, he's staying tomorrow. We have an additional tech coming Thursday, and he will work until, they'll both work until everything's repaired. But I didn't want you to think that we just ignored the middle school. We didn't. We did what we were supposed to do and push the heat to the, and that's the way that it was designed, so.
Can't control
That's
that.
the old high school.
Yep, that's the only.
Should those students be in school at that temperature?
So we're determining, so there is a limit as to whether or not students should be in school. We're, now that the heat is back on, that's great, but we need to make sure that we have spaces for them. So that's what we're determining, is whether we can hold class in a safe way in the spaces that are available at NHS and CPS. The buildings are together.
The initial 2 are fixed.
Yes,
I
okay,
just sitting here and taking text, so.
okay, good to hear.
Just
So it's real-time decision-making here.
Okay.
For the CPS, wouldn't, I know like the gym is having classes in there, wouldn't that be additional space?
Well, they've got to work on it to figure out the right spaces for the right classes.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay,
Sorry, just have
Go
one
ahead.
other comment, sorry. Just to our school committee members, we're having, remember, February 8th is our meeting, which is our workshop, to talk about the master plan, but mostly I think what's going to be on the agenda is the PFAS issue. So I just want to remind us all to really, if there's any questions that should come forth so that we know we've got the right opportunity to answer them, this is the time for us to be making sure we're
Yeah.
reaching out to anybody that we're in contact with that have concerns. And if you could get the questions to Logan, because I just happened to see an agenda that went to Tim
Yeah.
today, and, right, so we just want to make sure we've got all of the questions and people present so that we can answer. And that's it. I'm
so
done now.
Pauline
I'm
was
done.
stealing my thunder. The
Oh, sorry.
February
I
8th is a
thought you-
school committee workshop for the campus master plan. February 9th, we have a joint meeting with the Board of Selectmen. And February 15th, we have a school committee retreat.
Are we going to St. Bart's or something for a
I
retreat?
wish. I wish.
I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll probably send a piece
am
message out as
very,
soon as I've made it.
passionate about food and
It really is real time.
So, I mean, it's,
It is what it is, so.
just keep a diary, so you can write it up.